Thank you, and I realize our name is a mouthful. Good afternoon, everyone. When Katie invited us to speak today, I first started thinking about the day the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision came down in January 2010. At the time, I was a press secretary for a small nonprofit focused on public financing of elections. Steve in the front row was there with me that week, and it came down. Everybody's in this room has been waiting at 10 a.m. on decision days. You have your good press releases, you have your bad press releases. So we got our bad press release out. We did all the work. At the end of the day, we were all sitting there thinking, wow, this is bad. This was as bad as it could get. And unfortunately, I was wrong. It could get a bunch worse, and it has. From Citizens United to Shelby County, which gutted the Voting Rights Act, the crown jewel of American civil rights law, to the Janus decision, which made it harder for working Americans to collectively use their voice, to the Rucho decision that made it easier for partisan lawmakers to pick and choose their voters, to any number of other lesser known but just as damaging democracy decisions. In the past 12 years since Citizens United, the extremists on the Supreme Court have repeatedly undermined our democracy and made it easier to restrict who has access to it. They've done this with the backing of tens of millions in dark money raised by right-wing groups and installing ideologues who side with Republicans and their corporate backers. All of the predictions that democracy advocates and good government groups like us made about the impacts of these cases have then come true. In Citizens United, Justice Kennedy was sure that Congress would come together to patch up the holes in disclosure laws that they created. Last week, Senate Republicans filibustered the Disclose Act for the 6th time in 2 years. In the McCutcheon case, Justice Alito complained about the wild hypotheticals we were raising about contribution limits. The fundraising committees we criticized are now the norm. Justice Roberts declared racism all but over in Shelby County. And then, states previously covered under the Voting Rights Act closed thousands of polling places and enacted dozens of strict voter suppression laws. And today, with a new term of the Supreme Court set to begin next week, we're preparing for 2 more potentially disastrous cases. In Merrill v. Milligan, the court will decide whether Alabama's congressional maps violate the Voting Rights Act by severely diluting the power of Black voters in the state. Then, the court will hear Moore v. Harper, a case dealing with the absolute fringe independent state legislature theory on whether state legislatures can write election laws without state court review. This theory, created out of whole cloth, is fake and made up, but the court is hearing it anyway. I think that speaks to the problem that we face. And all of that is why I'm here today. End Citizens United was founded in 2015 to elect democracy champions and then work with them to enact legislation to address the worst impact of Citizens United. We merged with Let America Vote in 2020, a natural partner that allowed us to also focus on protecting voting rights for all, because those 2 issues are directly related. So, as someone who works for an organization literally called End Citizens United, Let America Vote, you can imagine what this court means for achieving our goals. So that's why I'm excited to announce that End Citizens United Let America Vote Action Fund is today endorsing a comprehensive package of reforms to the court to make sure that we have justices who believe the Constitution protects all of us, not just the wealthy and powerful. First, the public deserves a lot more transparency and accountability from the court. If they won't adopt their own code of ethics, Congress must require it. We need to strengthen recusal rules and add more transparency with regard to justices' incomes and financial holdings. Second, we must expose the dark money being spent on judicial nomination fights, that's right, through legislation like the Disclose Act, as well as disclose information about the special interest corporate money backing these friends of the court briefs that are backing up these right-wing cases. We would also support term limits for future Supreme Court justices. And finally, we believe that to protect our democracy, we must expand the size of the Supreme Court. So today, here for the first time, End Citizens United Action Fund is announcing our endorsement of the Judiciary Act. Republicans have spent decades packing the court with extremist ideologues who have severely weakened our political system. They've entrenched their allies' political power for partisan gain and eroded our system of self-governance. Adding 4 justices to match the number of federal circuit courts will simply restore balance and ensure that we have justices committed to serving all the people. As everyone in this room knows, there's nothing in the Constitution about the size of the court. Congress has the power to decide how many justices are on it, and they have used that power 7 times over history, and now is the time to do it again. So we are really proud to join the growing list of members of Congress and the organizations in this room who have led the way and changed the conversation about this issue. We look forward to working with all of you on the best way that we can help move these issues forward. Our democracy needs a Supreme Court that the public trusts. That won't happen under the current majority's deliberate attacks on our democracy. As the Supreme Court's credibility reaches record lows in public opinion following a string of decisions opposed by a majority of Americans, it's clear the court must be reformed, and we're excited to join you all in this fight to do just that. Thank you.